Welcome to the No Name Brand Podcast. My name is Sashka Hanarappel, actress, singer, dancer, turned brand marketing, sales, and advertising strategist who brands your soul. And each week I bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover your undergod, turn up your leadership notches, challenge the status quo, because you're fast and furious with a powerful message to share with the world. Thank you for taking time out with me today, and without further ado, let's get our creative and wisdom juices flowing. Woohoo! Welcome back, folks. Are you ready for something different today? Because I sure as heck am excited for our next guest. She is a Lego Movies fan. Especially because of how irreverent the characters are, not to mention how well done and funny the characters are. And her favorite is Lego Batman, and she's seen it so many times that she knows the words off by heart, which really annoys her son. But her love for Lego movies has nothing to do with this next guest's profession. No way, Jose. Her passion is amplifying the voices of nursing through entrepreneurialism. She adores working with nurses and showing them how to find and create a profitable business model using the skills and knowledge they already have. Say what? Nurses who work as nurses and entrepreneurs? Yep, you heard right, folks. And this chica isn't some random entrepreneur convincing nurses to start a business. Nope, she herself is a nurse too. And her side business? It's a Concierge, did you see that? Nursing service, which provides high-quality nursing care to patients after plastic surgery in the home. Dang! Now, in a world of multi-passionate human beings and entrepreneurs, this is one hell of a different alley to be lurking around. And I want to know more. So let's put our hands together for the one and only Catie Harris. Hello, Catie.
Hi, thank you so much. What a welcome.
It's a pleasure. Now, to get things started off, how about you share with us, what is your favorite pastime with your 6-year-old son besides watching Lego movies?
I do love that movie. I'm always like, Matthew, let's watch Batman. And he's like, Mom, I'm tired of that movie. But it's really funny. So we spend a lot of time in parks, and there's actually a Legoland here in Philadelphia where I am. So we go there and just kind of explore. I live in Center City, Philadelphia, so we explore the city together, ride on the tour bus around and see what's out there. So I just like having experiences with him.
That's so cool. And what's the weather like always in Philadelphia? Is it more like rainy or sunny or in between?
No, we have all 4 seasons, and right now we're in the middle of a major heat wave. So, yeah,
it's raining here by us today. Hallelujah. That's why it's green. It's green on the Alps. That's why it's green, people. Now, I'm going to quote some naysayers as to what they would have said when you created NursePreneur. What in the cotton-picking hell was going through your mind, woman? Quit your nursing job and become an entrepreneur? How do you respond to that, Catie?
That I get something very similar to that. They're like, just like, what are you doing?
I thought a nurse is a nurse.
Yeah, a nurse is a nurse, but it's never occurred to a lot of the nurses that I work with that this is a pathway that they could take. And it's one of those professions where, I mean, everybody's told what to do in their job, right? But in nursing in particular, there's a real stigma with the doctors tell us what to do. So we're never the expert. So getting them away from that mindset that, yes, they do have like an expert skill is a huge barrier that you have to overcome. Some of the nurses are gung-ho. They're like, yep, sign me up, show me what to do. And then other nurses, it's just a very new concept to them.
Speaking of that, I mean, the fear for a nurse, like you were saying now, I mean, it's not taking on more shifts or to make some more money with a second income. It's like huge. You have to start a business and find new clients and run the business. It's a daunting ontake. And why are you having such a success with this concept? How are you helping nurses overcome this fear of taking on 2 professions? And aren't you are you still passionate about nursing, or how are you fusing the 2?
So that's a big question.
I like big questions. Chunk it down, Catie, chunk it down.
Okay. So I'm going to go back just a little bit. And the thing with me was I've been a nurse for 20 years. I love the profession. It's really great, but you always hit this ceiling. So when I was a staff nurse, I hit a ceiling, and it's kind of like, well, you can work extra shifts or take on a second, third job, which all nurses have. We all have like 3, 4 jobs going, but that's it. So you can only make a limited amount of money based on the amount of time that you have to give. So then I went back and got my nurse practitioner degree, and it was kind of the same thing. You get to a certain level and there's just nowhere else to go. And I found myself like just really frustrated. I internalized it intensely, and it just became really angry. I was just a very angry nurse, and I'm like, there has to be something else that I can do. And I'd attempted to start businesses before, and I even have an MBA. Like, I have a business background, but they never kind of took off. And my brother would always say to me, well, you never stick with anything. And a lot of that was just the mindset. And it was a barrier that I had overcome, which is why I'm very sensitive to it, in that I didn't think that I had an expertise that I could take to market, right? So that was a big barrier to overcome. And once I started getting into, I'm like, well, okay, well, let me try something. So I've tried multiple different things. And one of the first things I was going to start was a blog. And my brother's like, you can't make money with a blog. I was like, I'll show you, I can. But he was kind of right. But it led me on the path. I'm sure you can make money with a blog. I just didn't end up going that way. But it led me into this path of the online business. And a lot of people don't have any expertise, but they have something to share. And it just occurred to me, I'm like, they're making a business out of sharing what their experience and what they know. And that's so powerful. And when I look at my nurses and I look at myself, I think, oh my God, like we have so much that we could share with the world with our knowledge and our background and our medical background. And we're trained in empathy and therapeutic communication, like all the really great things that I've actually learned in business as well. It's all coming to the forefront. So I came up with this idea for Concierge Nurse Services, just looking at the problems that my patients had. And one of the key, I guess, turning points for me was just listening to people, listening to the patients, not listening and saying, yeah, well, here's the solution. It was, what is really the problem? What is really frustrating for you? And that's when I came up with this model of that transition point from leaving the hospital or leaving the surgery center and going home. It's extremely a vulnerable period where a lot of information gets lost or the patients are very anxious, and decided to start it in the plastic surgery sector in particular because, especially here in the States, it's a very fee-for-service as opposed to insurance. So these patients are willing to pay for out-of-pocket as opposed to going through the insurance company, which can be very painful.
So how do you help nurses? Because you sound like very, very strong character and very confident in what you do. And it's not that nurses aren't confident in what they're doing, just the confidence in doing another profession, as in still doing kind of what I'm doing, but not really doing what I'm doing and doing another business. How are you helping them bridge the gap between for that fear?
Right. Actually, this is one thing that I wanted to say before I answer that question, is that going into business actually enhanced my passion for nursing, right? So I had hit a ceiling and was frustrated and was burnt out. And that's where a lot of nurses go. And then they leave the profession. When I started my own business and started learning things and doing things and just creating things, it really invigorated what I was doing and what I love doing and what nurses love doing, which is teaching. So helping them to see that what they know can be systematized and put into a package and given to people is extremely useful. I mean, that's, I think, the power of teaching these nurses what they have is extremely valuable, and not to dismiss it, because a lot of them will say, oh, I've been a nurse for 20 years, but I don't really know anything, and it just makes me crazy.
Yeah, because there are a lot of nurses that speak like that. So you're helping them to actually take their knowledge, still nurse, and in addition to that, use that knowledge for themselves for a second income?
Yes. So I'll give you an example. One of my students, Erin, she is 33. She's a single mom now. She's got 2 kids. She's got 3 jobs. She's running around like crazy, just like everybody. So she had started a little side business doing personal training because she does weightlifting on the side and does some shows. So she was doing some personal training and she was having trouble getting customers to come in. So I said to her, Erin, let's look at your background. You've been a nurse in the neurosciences. She works with stroke patients. You've been in this for 10 years.
Wow.
And what is it that we tell our patients as soon as they're leaving the hospital? You need to change your lifestyle, change your diet, increase your physical activity. I'm like, what if you started a business focused on neuro patients, helping them to actually implement lifestyle changes? Because nobody does it. And one of the problems for our stroke patients is they're not going to go to Gold's Gym or some hardcore gym or any gym for that matter, because there's an embarrassment factor as well. So instead of doing in-home personal training with just a random audience, she has a very defined niche now in working with neuro patients. So she's combining multiple loves of what she loves to do.
That's incredible. Now, one of the questions that pop into my mind, are there any legal things that you need to think about? Because you're employed by your employer, because you're not really taking away any customers or anything. So is it legal to offer these services to, inverted commas, visitors in the hospital? Will that have been a situation, ICU or something?
Yeah, no. You definitely have to separate your job from your business. And it seems really convenient. And this was one of the first mistakes that I made as a very novice business owner, was thinking that I had this ready-made audience. All I had to do was go to work and hand out my card and it would be great, right?
It didn't work like that?
Yeah, why doesn't everybody own a business? It's crazy.
So how did it work?
Yeah, so this was my first idea, was to do transitional care with stroke patients. And that's exactly what I had imagined, either that or giving my card to case management to give to the patients. But the hospital put the kibosh on that and they said, you can't do that. And then it was kind of like, well, how do I find these patients? Like, how do I find a patient that's just had a stroke that needs care after they leave the hospital system? And that was kind of my foray into marketing and learning what everybody else in the world knows that has a business, like how to get clients and how to set up your website and go through all of that. So that took me a long time and a lot of money to figure out.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Because, I mean, it sounds ironic in a way, because even in marketing, like you were saying, you know, you've got the clients basically sitting in front of you, but there's still a thing of, are you my ideal client, my sole client? Because, you know, just taking anyone, you quickly learn, you're draining my energy. I might as well just be doing one job. Did you have any incidents where you're like, so you're the type of person I don't actually want to work with, but you are? And what were the qualities that you were looking for?
That's a good one. Absolutely. There's definitely patients, and it's very touch and go, especially in the plastic surgery industry, where some of these patients can be extremely demanding. So one of the first things that I had decided up front was, I don't want to work with the patients directly. I want to run this business, and I'm going to have other nurses, and I'm going to pick nurses, choose them based on that quality that they would be able to interface with this patient population that was very, let's say, intense. They can be intense. So that was one way around it. But working one-on-one on patients, I'm really looking for people that are just, I don't know if this sounds too woo-woo, but I'm looking for like good energy people that are authentic and real. And that's not really a population that you can pinpoint demographically, right? Or financially. I don't think it's an audience interest on Facebook, but especially for one-on-one when I'm working with my nurses, I really need to see like a person that's motivated, that really has put some effort into it before coming to me. Because a lot of the nurses, when I work with them to build their own businesses, are kind of like, well, where's my business? Or I want a business in a box, and I don't have that.
Yeah, right. Because that's what happens for every entrepreneur in the world. There's just a business in a box. That's a very good idea. You'd be freaking rolling in the money, Catie. In the box. Here we go. What selection would you like? Oh, God. So you mentioned that you learned what you know now, like to gain results, and that working with you learned this all from multimillionaires. What is it that you learned, and how did you realize that this was something that you wanted to teach others?
One of the most important things that I learned is that they don't know everything either, right? And that sounds so obvious, but
big moment, epiphany moment. They might have money, but they don't know everything. Ding, ding, ding.
So one of my mentors, Anne McKevitt, she was like, well, she starts multiple, she's a serial entrepreneur. So she'll start businesses, she'll throw money at something to test it out, see if it works. And if it doesn't work, she shuts it down and moves on to the next thing. And that always stuck with me. It just like, she wasn't like, I poured my heart and soul into my first business and wash away. And then it took me a couple years to get it back up and get that energy back up. And you have to have a love and a passion for what you're doing. But at the same time, it's a business and you can't be so wedded to it that you can't see the forest for the trees, right? So that was a major thing that you have to try, you tweak it. If this isn't working, you try that. If that's not working, maybe you abandon the whole project and start over. It's something that I appreciate understanding now.
That's pretty, yeah, because there's clues lying in other people's success that you just have to open your eyes to and see. There's so many things and you always get to see things when you're ready. Someone could tell you something like your parents, pick up your, clean your room, and you just never clean your room until you move into your own place and you go, oh, maybe I should clean my room. Might look neat. Like, oh. So when you're learning from multimillionaires or serial entrepreneurs or even from you, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. There's things happening there. Now, the nurses that you're working with, are they mainly based in the US or are they international? And how are the rules and regulations across the world if you're working internationally?
Something I've been thinking about. So I'm only based in the US right now, but I mean, my course is online, so obviously it could be worldwide. I just haven't focused the search worldwide yet. And part of that is the different types of nurses that once you leave the US, I understand we have state regulations from state to state. All 50 states have different rules and regulations, but they're pretty close, right? But then you go to another country and it does become a little bit more. But a lot of the stuff that I teach the nurses is to use the expertise, but they're not actually doing licensed nursing care, right? So there's a line there that you have to be careful with. So particularly in the States, if you're a nurse practitioner or a nurse giving advice, it has to be advice that reflects the plan of care that already exists, right? So if the patient needs lifestyle changes, we're not going to suggest medication changes or come off your medications and do these herbal remedies or whatever. So that has to be done in coordination with the patient's physician or nurse practitioner. So you have to be very careful because you're going to be held to the level of your knowledge, right? As a nurse, you need to know what you can and cannot do. And that's going to vary across the world for sure. So,
what I find really interesting is that, and I'm generalizing here, but the majority of what I've seen is that nurses are incredible. The hours that they work, the amount of emotion and empathy that is brought into the workplace. You never really switch off from your work and also working second, third jobs in order to keep finances and everything. But there is also such a heavy load of low self-esteem and confidence. And I'd say that like 70% of the nurses that I know of looking after their health and they dwindle over there. When I mentioned the question before, this fear of starting a business, because you're so confident, like you were explaining now with all the different regulations, you're so confident in what you're doing. But at the same time, when you put to the test to actually use what you have to open a business, you're like, oh, no, I'm not good enough for that. I'm not good enough for that. Are you implementing in your course and also working with nurses mindset work?
yes, because that's something that I think is, you can't really move forward until you get through some of these mindset blocks. And that's one of the things that I tell my nurses, whenever you get to a certain point and you're not moving forward, we need to work it out. We need to figure out, because it's not, everything's straightforward. You have to do A, B, C, D. And the things that prevent you from getting to A, B, C, D are the mindset issues. And if you don't resolve those, it'll hold you back. And I've had that problem for years. Absolute years. I've had to, ridiculous. It's like things that happened to me years ago when I was a little kid are still dictating to me how I think. And overcoming that has been the one thing that's allowed me to succeed.
That's incredible. What were the scary moments in your transition where you were going, okay, I'm going to do this? And how long did it take you to go from idea to actual implementation?
So the transition, it's the thing with nursing, which is really nice, is that you don't have to leave your job, right? You can maybe leave your second and third job while you're working on your side business, but there's always a need for nurses. So if you need to pick up extra time, and I always thought that Hollywood actresses should probably be nurses so they can work a lot and then spend a lot of time at Hollywood trying to get gigs and stuff, and they'd have lots of money.
What a cool idea. So it was just your transition, how it was.
Oh, so yeah, it's not as scary. So it's not like you're jumping out of a 6-figure corporate job and starting your own business and you have zero money coming in. You always have money coming in. The nurses tend to work 12-hour shifts, so they're 3 days on. They technically would have 4 days off to implement a side business and grow that. So just kind of valuing your time and believing that the business is worthwhile to take you to the next level is really what it comes down to. So that transition was very smooth. It's just kind of like I just started letting go of jobs as I replaced my income. So there was never that fear of, oh my God, how am I going to eat and how am I going to feed my child and pay the rent and all that kind of stuff.
Mm. On the one hand, I find it really, really cool. That's why I really wanted to interview you as well, because it's like such a different avenue of starting a business. And on the other hand, I'm just like, you're a nurse. Like, this is saving lives. Like, this is something just like that you've actually come also to the idea to become an entrepreneur using your nursing qualities. I mean, it's great, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's a shame that the money is such a big decider for you. Not for you, but like for nurses, like you have to take on second and third jobs and everything like that. Rather than taking on some crappy job, you take on something that you're really confident in as well, like what you're doing in nursing, and making a career out of that, a business out of it, which is really, really cool. So what you're doing is super awesome, really cool.
Thank you. I really see that as a way to just invest in yourself. And, I tell my nurses, it's that first year, don't quit your job. Like, let's figure out your idea first. Let's put some pieces together. And then we can start talking about losing one of your jobs.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. You yourself on a really cool roller coaster ride. I mean, with all the business and things happening and taking off and expanding. What does the journey look like now for Catie Harris and the NursePreneur? What is your vision?
So my vision is I want to do live events and take those around the country. And I do have my eye internationally because there's nurses everywhere, right? So that's one. The live events, the international growth, I think is another one. And just kind of, I wanted to start building out what it's like to be a nurse. So I have a start with that on a Facebook page where I'm talking about nurse stories and just the daily life of a nurse. And I have so many different hats that I've had in nursing that have all contributed to my business. I want to put that out there as well. So yeah, those are my 3 main focuses, I think, the next year at least.
I love it. I love it. So we're coming to the end, unfortunately, of our session over here. And I have 2 questions that I'd like to ask you. One of them being, how do you want to change or challenge the world doing what you do?
So the way that what I want to change is how nurses really approach the profession and to amplify their voice so that they're heard and so that they understand how valuable they are, because everybody else knows how valuable they are. And I want them to see it and experience it and present it. I think that's a gift that we as a profession can give to our patients and to the world. That's how I'd like to change the world.
I love that. I love that. Really expanding on the profession as a nurse. It's gorgeous. I'd like to hear your viewpoint on 3 of my values by filling in the blanks. So passion for you is?
My passion is learning new stuff and really just becoming more enlightened and finding good energy in the world.
Good energy in the world is really important. Creativity for you is?
Creativity for me is allowing opportunities to be open. So not to shut down on things that I may be not convinced of. So allowing opposing ideas, even though I don't like them, or opportunities that I might dismiss come my way and just at least explore them.
Wisdom for you is?
Wisdom is, I guess, knowing that you just don't really know anything.
Hallelujah to that. Yes. That's so cool. Catie, thank you so much for being with us here and exposing us in a good way to what's happening in the world, in the nursing world, and what the positive influence that you're having on nurses as well to accelerate their confidence and their profession, to open doors for them to help more people and to bring change into the world as they're being changed for themselves. You can find out more about Catie on her website. It's catieharris.com. That's CATIEHARRIS.com. And in the show notes, you'll find her where she is on social media, her Facebook group, her favorite quote, her favorite book, and just get to know her more. And if you know of a nurse, or you're actually exploring something like this, or like to share this with someone, please do, because I think this is eye-opening. It's something different. It's something new in terms of empowering human in what they're doing and in their life purpose and in their profession as well. Thank you so much for doing what you do, Catie.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was a pleasure having you. And we, my dear listeners, will see each other and hear each other next week again. And in the meantime, remember to be the change that you want to see in the world. So have an awesome day further. Love you lots. Bye-bye. Dang, that was just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I enjoyed having you on board, and please do me and you a favor. Head on over to iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Click subscribe, and a super bonus, leave your review and you stand a chance of being announced and advertised on the show. I'm always striving to ensure that your brand is uplifted and empowered. Remember, done is better than perfect. So be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and send in your feedback too. You're the absolute best. Keep rocking.